بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. We welcome you to our English broadcasts, which are called Reflections on the Holy Quran, and which in Urdu we call Tadabburul Quran. I want to repeat what I say most days, that Ahmadiyya Manishat Islam, its members, and its founder, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib of Qadian, who was the Mujaddid of the 14th century and the promised Messiah. We believe that the Holy Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet, and after him, no prophet, old or new, can come. And that the Holy Quran is a complete and perfect book. There's nothing missing from it, and no verses have been left out of it, as Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat and Shia believe that certain verses are abrogated and certain verses have been left out. And we believe that everyone who recites the kalima is a Muslim, and no one has the right to say to him that you're not a Muslim. And in words of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, this is such a serious matter that anyone who says to a person who recites the kalima that you are not a Muslim, you are a kafir, you are a heretic, then it is the person saying it who goes out of the fold of Islam. As you know, we are following the Holy Quran verse by verse, word by word, literally, looking at the roots and other meanings of words of the Holy Quran to see what other guidance there is in it for us and how we may understand it better. So verse 49 of chapter 2, Al-Baqarah says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ نجيناكم من آل فرعون يَصُومُونَكُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ يُذَبِّحُونَ أَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَيَسْتَحْيُونَ نِسَاءَكُمْ وَفِي ذَلِكُمْ بَلَاءٌ مِّن رَّبِّكُمْ عَظِيمٌ. And when we delivered you from Pharaoh's people, who subjected you to severe torment, killing your sons but sparing your women, and sparing your women. And in this there is a great trial from your Lord. The words I'm going to look at are Najjainakum, Fir'aun, Yasumunakum, Yuzabbihun, Yastahyuna, and Bala. What is Najjainakum? Now, literally, Najjainakum, its root is Noon, Jim, Va, and literally it means um, land which is very hard, land which is separated from everything around it. So it is also used to indicate separation. In Urdu, the word Nijat comes from it, which means salvation. It means deliverance, as Hazrat Maulana Muhammad is translated. We delivered you, we separated you, we created you, we took you away. From whom? From Pharaoh's people. Now, there were many pharaohs, just like there were many Caesars in Rome. This is a title, not a name. The pharaoh who ruled at the time of the Holy Prophet Moses al-Islam was Ramesses II. But as I said, Fir'aun is the title. It's like the President of America. And you talk about the president, it's the person holding a particular job. Today, it's Mr. Trump. Yesterday, it was Mr. Obama, Mr. Bush, and so on. You trace it back to George Washington. So the Holy Quran uses the general title for the head of state. And the next word that we're going to look at is Yasumunakum, and its root is Sin Va Mim. And it literally means to set out to find something. To struggle and strive and work very hard to find something. So, what the Holy Quran is saying is that we delivered you, we saved you from Pharaoh's people who would set out to find ways to torment you. And then it gives two examples. But if you read the Old Testament and if you read the old history, you can see there are many, many examples of how the Israelites were tormented by uh, Pharaoh and his courtiers and so on. Many different ways. They were put to hard labor. They had to drag large stones which were used to build the pyramids. They had to cut these stones. They had to raise them and put them in place and so on. So the Holy Quran says that they were all the time, they were looking for ways to make your life difficult. But the interesting thing is, you see, this is what I love. And every time I discover something different, I say, this is what I really love about the Holy Quran. And this is the beauty of going over it repeatedly. That if you think about this verse, it is still applicable today. People are finding new ways to torment and torture minorities. What about the African Americans? What about the way they've been treated? Even after they were freed from slavery, well, they weren't freed from slavery. All that happened was slavery became a criminal offense. Or there wasn't a piece of paper saying A belongs to B, but they still remained slaves. And people would find all manner of ways to torment those slaves who would ask for their rights. And this was what we saw on Friday, that Islam said, yes, you should free slaves, but the important thing is to give them rights. There's no point in well, there is a point in freeing someone, yes. But the point is, if the society treats them as the lowest of the low, doesn't let them get education or jobs and 1,000 other rights that the majority might have, it's meaningless to say, that this piece of paper is missing. Because in effect, they're still slaves. When slavery was abolished, it was replaced with what? Bonded labor. What is bonded labor? You signed a piece of paper. It didn't say that you're XYZ slave. What it said was that you're going to work for XYZ for 10 years, 15 years. He will house you, he'll accommodate you. There's no description of what kind of housing or what kind of food you get. And then 15 years later, once you've done your penance, once you've done your 15 years hard labor, then he'll pay you in some way. So the point I'm making is that there are still Fir'auns in this day and age. Anyone who sets out to torture and torment a minority on the basis of their religious belief or their color or creed or caste or whatever it is acting just like Pharaoh did. There's no difference. So, we were talking about Yasumunakum. They set out. They look for ways to create problems for you. And then God gives two examples. Yuzabbihuna abna'akum. and that literally yuzabbihuna, the root, the masdar is wal ba ha, and it means to butcher, to slaughter, to kill. So they butcher your men, your boys, your sons, وَيَسْ وَيَسْتَحْيُونَ نِسَاءَكُمْ, and they keep your women alive. As Maulana has said, and they spare your women. Now, why they spare the women is patently obvious to me. So let's not go into that, but we know why they spare the women. But the word used here is yastahyuna, and its root, its masdar is ha ya ya. And we had this before. It means yes, the very live. It's also it's not necessarily simply used um, for human beings. The Holy Quran says we bring earth back to life using the same word. Its real meaning is um, that you sort of shy away from something. You know, it's a bit like in winter, you're trying to squeeze into your jacket or whatever it is. And what is said is the idea is that if you have a snake and you poke it with the stick and it's alive, it will sort of shy away. It will reduce its size and so on. But if it's dead, it will just lie there. This is why the word for bashfulness also comes in Arabic, the Arabic word. It comes from this haya. So, but we had this before in more detail previously, but I thought I'd just mention that. And then we have وَفِي ذَلِكُمْ بَلَاءٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ عَظِيمٌ. So, bala here, there is a difference of opinion. People say its root is ba, lam, wa, or ba, lam, ya. And it's generally translated as pain, misfortune, distress, affliction. Today we have, these days we have a bala, and it's COVID-19, and so on. But interestingly, Imam Raghib says that it has two meanings. One is to find out how someone is, or the state of something. Okay? And the second is to do something so that the real condition of someone or something is shown, which is very interesting. And even more interesting is the comment that Ibn Abbas made. He was a great commentator of the Holy Quran, and he said that bala doesn't just mean some affliction, something bad happening, but it can also mean something good. So you can be tried by something bad or something good. It includes both. And in fact, this trial is not from God. What is from God? This test is not from God rather than trial. The circumstances are from God, but the test is you test yourself. You check yourself. You see how you behave under certain circumstances, and whether you behave in the way that Allah wants you to behave. So if we go back, then here, the bala, there are two things that are the tests for Bani Israel. One was being delivered from the people of Pharaoh. That was a test, that was a trial to see how they behaved once they were free. The other test or trial is when they were in Egypt and the way they were being treated. I mean, all you have to do is just read the Old Testament and see how Pharaoh had this vision that I think a fire from Jerusalem or somewhere was burning all the houses in Egypt, and he took that to mean that one of the Israelites is going to destroy his kingdom. So he gave instructions for the boys to be killed, infants, but girls to be left alone, which is what the Holy Quran is referring to. But what I think what the Holy Quran is saying that uh, circumstances are created, but it's for you yourself to judge your own behavior. And these circumstances can be that something great happens. That's the first thing that's mentioned. We delivered you from Pharaoh's people. You were in bondage. Allah delivered you. That was the second trial. The first one was you were in Egypt and in bondage. That was a trial. So what did you do when you were free? And all we have to do is just look at the Old Testament. Moses went away, leaving Hazrat Harun, Aaron in charge. And no sooner had Moses al-Islam, Hazrat Musa al-Islam gone away, then despite efforts by uh, Aaron, Hazrat Harun, and his warnings and everything, what did the Israelites do? They left unity of Godhead. They made an idol and started worshipping it. And they started indulging in all the bad things that the Egyptians did and about which they complained. So, in my opinion, there are two trials mentioned here. And this is really about every individual, it's about every nation, it's about every individual. God saying, I'll trial you in two ways. By giving you something like money and wealth and position and power and so on, see how you behave. And secondly, by depriving you of these things, to see how you behave. And God is using this historical event from the Old Testament to warn everyone. Because remember, Quran is a book of guidance. It's not a book of physics. It's not a book of botany and zoology and medicine and history and geography and so on. Everything it says, it states, is meant to guide us to improve our lives, to make our characters and our treatment of others and our behavior better. Israelites were given a blessing, they were given this freedom. What did they do? Apply it to yourself. They were in trouble, bad trouble. The kids were being killed and girls taken away for whatever purpose, etc., etc. What did they do? Apply it to yourself. Are you doing the same thing? That is the question you have to ask yourself all the time. This is all for today. We'll meet again tomorrow for the Urdu lecture at 7 p.m. UK time, and for its English version at 7:30 p.m. I thank everyone who every now and then makes a comment. Not all of them nice, but there we are. Such is life. You can't give up doing God's work just because people are being nasty and horrible. With the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you are, may Allah keep all of you under His wing and protect you from harm and distress and affliction. Assalamu alaikum. Khuda Hafiz. Goodbye.